Hello friends, welcome back to the channel again, Code with me. So friends, after a long time, there will be another session of cloud computing. So that is nothing but cluster computing. So friends, in the previous video, you guys are completely aware about what is cloud computing, what is utility computing, what is grid computing, and also you guys are aware about the internal operation of cloud computing, how exactly cloud computing works, and providing the resources and facilities and every single thing. So friends, in this video, let us dig dive about what is cluster computing. So in this video, we'll be discussing the entire concept of cluster computing. What is cluster computing? What are the types we have? What are the internal operations, such as applications, advantages? So we'll be learning every single thing about cluster computing in this video. So before directly jumping to the video, make sure hit the subscribe button and also click on the bell button so that you'll be never missing my new updates. So whenever I upload a video, so your phone will ring with a bell like this. Okay. So do in the meantime. So in this, let us dig down with the video and let us learn what is this cluster computing. So friends, starting with the formal definition of what is exactly cluster computing. See friends, cluster computing refers that many of the computers connected on a network and they perform like a single entity. Each computer that is connected to a network is called as node. See, friends, I assume that you guys are aware about the multi-process task. You can see that a single task is broken into multiple tasks and operation is performed and combined together to perform a single task. A cluster computing is kind of something related. I mean, the internal operation is kind of related. Here, what happened here, friends? All the computers that is connected to a single network. It might be a LAN, WAN, or SAN. Okay, so all the computers are connected to a single network, local area network, to perform a single task. So in the terms of diagram, in the terms of cluster computing, we will be calling a computer called as a node. Okay, so each computer is connected to a single node that is allowed to perform a single task is called as a node. Okay, and please do make sure that you are completely aware about what exactly node is. Please don't get confused with the computer as well as node. Okay, and cluster computing offers solution to provide a complicated problems by providing faster computational speed and enhanced data integrity. Obviously friends, you guys are completely aware that a single task is performed by multiple computers, so proportionally what happens, your computational speed and enhanced data integrity will be greater enough, I mean the better enough. The connected computers execute operations all together. So that in that case what happens, friends, creating an impressions like single system. Obviously, you guys are completely aware about if you're not virtual about virtual machines. Okay, so please go and what is virtual machine. So you'll be having what exactly the picture of these virtual machines. Here, cloud computing. What happens here? They execute they execute particular operations or a task by splitting a task into multiple computers as they are connected to a single network. So what happens altogether, creating the impression like a single system, so that will be working this the entire arena will be working as a single system in the fall. I mean, like virtual machine, not exactly virtual machine, like virtual machines. Okay, so cluster computing goes on with these three features, friends. I want to keep these features in your mind. What is, all the connected computers are the same kind of machine. Okay, and they are tightly connected to a dedicated network connection. It might be a LAN, WAN, or SAN, depend upon the organization they use. Okay, and all the computers share a common home directory. Okay, so speaking about the internal operation of cluster computing. So this is where exactly the main part starts. So how the internal operation of this I mean the cluster computing works. See friends, you can clearly see here the diagrams here. Cluster middleware, okay, which is also called as single system image and availability infrastructure. See friends, you can clearly see here there are multiple computers that is named as workstation 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so these workstation might be in a single place or it might be scattered enough. Okay, although they share a single entity or single database, what happens, these computers can be in the same place or multiple location or it might be scattered, but since they are connected to a single network, here what happens, here they can perform a single task and perform a common goal. Okay, so it might be a sequential application or a parallel application or a parallel program environment that completely depends upon the optionality. Okay, so here what happens, you can clearly observe here, they are speaking about the internal operation of cluster computing. All the computers which is named as workstations are connected to a common switch. See in this diagram, friends, common switch will be called as a network. Okay, here they perform a single task simultaneously by all the computers. Okay, so it might be a sequential application, parallel program environment. So there are much more tasks that can be performed by the cluster computing. So that will be splitted by into not exactly splitted, all these computers are perform the same task. What happens proportionally, the computational speed will be rapid enough to providing the services. Okay, so what are the types of cluster computing? So friends, there are actually three types of cluster computing. If you ask me what are those: cluster load balancing, high availability clusters, and high performing clusters. First and foremost, let us learn about what is exactly this cluster load balancing. Load balancing clusters are employed in the situation of augmented network and an internet utilization, and these cluster performs as a fundamental factor. This type of clustering techniques offers the benefits of increased network capacity and enhanced performance. Here, the entire node stay as cohesive all the instance where the entire node objects complexity attentive and request of those present in the network. See friends, speaking about the cluster balanceability, in this category what happens here, it is a completely augmented network. In the sense, it's a completely vast network and the internet utilizations. Okay, all these perform a fundamental factor. huh? So here what happens here, friends, obviously it's completely augmented network. Here what happens, the network capacity is huge enough. Okay, obviously, for example, friends, assume you're using a phone. Okay, so when you open more than 15-20 applications simultaneously, what happens, your phone process tend to decrease the same way. But here cluster load balancing, speaking about the cluster load balancing, the augmented network, since it is an augmented network, vast network, the network capacity is huge enough to carry any data. Okay, huge enough to carry any amount of data and process it simultaneously at the same time. So here what happens here, the performance will be vast enough. Okay, here what happens, all the entire nodes stay cohesively with all the instance, and the entire node objects complexity attentive of the request of those present in the network. Next comes friends, they are also termed as a failover clusters. Speaking about high availability clusters, they are also termed as a failover clusters. Computers so often faces failure issues. It's common in the sense, even if the laptop or computer or even mobile also, failure is common. So high availability comes in with the augmentation dependency of the computers hold the crucial responsibilities in many of the organizations and applications. In this approach, redundant computer systems are utilized in the situation of any component malfunctions. So when there is a single point malfunction, system seems completely reliable as the network of the redundant cluster elements. See friends, what did you understand by this? See friends, obviously I said that you can clearly see here, cluster computing is nothing but a combination of computers. Okay, assume there are 50 computers working on a particular task. Okay, if one computer is fails, so there will be another computer for backup for the particular operation, that computer which was performing which was failed. So that will be immediately backed up by another computer. What happens here, there will be no such thing as a lagging or something else. So in this provider of cluster computing, the service provider is very strong enough. Even there is a sudden failure, it will be replaced by immediately. That shows that cluster computing is completely high availability clusters. Okay. Next, high performance clusters. This network approaches utilizes supercomputers to resolve complex computational problems. Along with the management of I/O dependent applications like web services, high performance clusters are employed in the computational models of climate and in the vehicle breakdowns. More tightly connected computer clusters are developed for the work that might consider supercomputing. Obviously, friends, the name itself indicates high performance clusters. See, here the computers are so strong enough to perform, utilizing the supercomputer to resolve the computational problems. See, friends, you can clearly observe here all the computers that is connected to a single network utilizes supercomputers to resolve the complex computational problems. Along with the management of IO dependency, applications like web services, high performance clusters are employed in computational models, climate in vehicle breakdowns. So what happens here? It can be considered supercomputing as it performing high performance deliverabilities. Since there are multiple computers that is performing a single task, you might be thinking enough the level of the speed that's delivered by the cluster computing. Okay, so this exactly defines the high performance clusters. Okay, so friends, next speaking about the advantages of clusters. What are the advantages that are associated with cloud computing, and what are those the factors that made cluster computing the cluster computing? First, cost efficiency. So, speaking about the cluster computing, friend, it is not that cost enough that you might be thinking twice enough to purchase this service. Okay, so cluster computing is not that enough that uh, the cost efficiency does not make you think twice to purchase the cluster computing. Okay, next, processing speed. As I explained before, in the high processing performance, processing is way too speed enough as there are multiple computers connected to a single network to perform a single task. Okay, next, expandabilities. What is exactly expandabilities? It's because expand, no friends, expandability in the sense you can clearly see here the level of the task, the expandability is way good enough. Okay, flexibility. So this cluster computing is flexible enough to get updated to the next level of the supercomputing technologies. Okay, so cluster computing is capable enough to get updated in any semantic manner. Okay, so last but not least, applications of cluster computing. So cluster computing can be implemented in weather modeling, stands as a support in vehicle breakdown and nuclear simulations, used in image processing and in the electromagnetics too. Perfect to be used in the applications of astrophysics, aerodynamics, and data mining. Assists to solve complex computational problems. Holds the flexibility to allocate workload as a small data portions and in which the called grid computing. Cluster computing has a capacity to function in many web applications such as security search, database servers, web servers, as well as proxies and email, much more. Okay, so friends, the session ends here. I hope you loved this video, and I hope you guys got the better picture clarity exactly of what exactly this cluster computing is. So friends, thank you for watching this video. Have a nice day.